She always came first until Mom got cancer, and she didn't even show up. Growing up, I thought every family worked like ours. That some kids just came with more spotlight built in, and the rest of us were there to clap, to support the show, to be the shadow they looked better against. Lena was the golden girl. Even her name sounded like a melody. Lena with the big brown eyes and the charming lisp when she was 5. Lena who got called gifted before she even learned multiplication. Lena who could spill juice on a guest white sofa and somehow still get a hug. She's spirited. My mom would giggle. Dad just shook his head and said, "That one's got fire." And me? I was Mark. Just Mark. I was the kid who did his homework without being asked, who sat quietly at family dinners, who didn't talk back or throw tantrums or demand things from the cereal aisle. "She's special," Mom used to say. "But you're reliable." I remember those words like a curse dressed up as a compliment. Lena could cry and get out of trouble. I once cried when I got bullied at school and Mom told me, "Tears won't help you in this world." Lena failed her driving test twice. Dad still bought her a used Beetle. I got straight A's and a part-time job. They didn't even notice when I graduated with honors. She was chaos. I was maintenance. At 13, I started hiding my wins. A science fair ribbon? Tossed in a drawer. A kind note from my English teacher? Straight to the trash. Every time I tried to share something good, it somehow got redirected to a story about Lena. "Oh, that's wonderful, honey. Did I tell you Lena's voice coach thinks she might be ready for auditions in New York?" By 17, I stopped trying. She left for the city at 18 with a suitcase full of scarves and dreams. They threw her a goodbye party in our backyard with balloons and a homemade banner. Mom made her favorite cake, lemon raspberry. Dad gave her an envelope with cash. I watched from the kitchen window and washed the dishes no one asked me to wash. A year later, I left too. No party. No cake. Just a 2-sentence goodbye text from Dad and a "don't forget to call your sister" from Mom. But here's the part that still surprises people. I didn't hate her. Not really. I just hated what we all became around her. How everything bent to make space for Lena, even if it meant cutting someone else out. For years, I kept my distance. I called once a month, sent birthday cards, came home on holidays. I was the son who showed up with groceries when Mom sprained her wrist. The one who fixed the leaky faucet when Dad's back was acting up. I shoveled the snow, mowed the lawn, changed the batteries in the smoke detectors. Lena would call on speakerphone, tell a loud story about her latest insane audition, promise to visit, then vanish for 6 months. "She's just so busy," Mom would say, folding her arms like a shield. Her life is a whirlwind. But when Mom started coughing, I knew. You can tell the difference between a seasonal cold and the kind of cough that rattles in the chest like something trying to escape. I asked Dad if she was okay. He said she was tired. I asked again. His voice cracked. I drove over that night. The house was dark, too quiet. Mom was asleep on the recliner, her skin pale and waxy. On the table beside her, a folder from the oncology center. Chemotherapy schedules. Blood test results. The word stage 3 underlined twice. They hadn't told me. When she woke up, she smiled weakly. "Did you bring groceries, sweetheart?" Like nothing had changed. "Mom," I said softly, sitting beside her, "how long have you known?" She closed her eyes. "A few weeks. We didn't want to worry you." Worry me? I wanted to scream. Instead, I went to the kitchen, opened the fridge, made her tea, and called my job to take a leave of absence. I moved back in that weekend. And Lena? She FaceTimed during Mom's first chemo, wearing sunglasses indoors. Her boyfriend hovered in the background. "Oh my God," she said dramatically, "I just found out. I'm booking a flight next week." "No, maybe the week after. I have callbacks, but I'll make it work. Promise." We never saw her. She sent flowers instead. White roses with a glittery card that read, "To the strongest woman I know. Love you always, your Lena." Mom kissed the card, kept it on the bedside table. I slept on the floor beside her for 3 nights straight, holding the puke bucket during her vomiting spells, setting alarms for pain meds, cleaning her sheets when she bled through. The card stayed untouched. The flowers wilted in 2 days. But that damn card stayed. "She's thinking of me," Mom whispered once. "That's what matters." No, I thought. That's what you need to believe. The first month was hell. I learned how to administer shots, monitor her weight, argue with insurance reps. I cleaned her dentures and wiped her tears. Dad tried to help, but he was crumbling. I could see it in the way his hands shook when he tried to fold laundry. And Lena? Lena sent another text. "Tell Mom I'm lighting a candle for her in Central Park." I didn't reply. That night, while rubbing Mom's back through her nausea, I realized something inside me had shifted. A quiet, stubborn thing. A line being drawn. I wasn't just the shadow anymore. I was the only one standing in the light. I started marking the days with little pencil lines on the fridge. Not to count how long I'd been there, but how long Lena hadn't. Week 1, no call. Week 2, a short text, thinking of you guys. 2 arts. Week 3, radio silence. Week 4, a voice memo crying, of course. I just feel so helpless. Helpless. That was the word she clung to like a get-out-of-jail-free card. And Mom let her. She's doing her best. Mark, she'd say from under the blanket. She's got a lot going on. I wanted to scream. We all have a lot going on, Mom. I'm bathing you. I'm paying your bills. Dad is forgetting what day it is. You think she's the only one drowning? But I didn't say it. I never did. Because I wasn't the one she needed to believe in. Mom still believed Lena would come. That she'd walk through the door any day, dramatic and radiant like a movie star returning to her roots. And when she did, all would be forgiven. Instead, Lena posted a video on Instagram, her dancing in a Manhattan loft to Florence and the Machine, holding a sign that read, "Healing energy for my warrior mama dizzy dizzy dizzy." It got shared 500 times. Strangers commented things like, "Your mom must be so proud of you." And this made me cry. Proud? Mom was vomiting blood into a metal bowl while I held her hair back with shaking hands. I watched that video at 3 a.m. on a plastic chair beside Mom's bed, the scent of antiseptic and peppermint oil clinging to everything. I watched Lena's smile, her fake tears, the effortless way she turned our family's crisis into internet points. And I realized something I never thought I'd admit. Lena wasn't selfish. She was hollow. There was nothing inside her but applause. One night, Dad finally broke. We were in the kitchen, and he was trying to slice apples for Mom. His hands trembled so badly the knife slipped, slicing into his thumb. He stared at the blood like he didn't recognize it. "I can't do this," he whispered, voice cracking. "I'm not strong like you." Strong? I wanted to laugh. I was sleep-deprived, burnt out, numb, but I nodded and cleaned his cut. That's what I did, absorb the damage and keep going. Later that night, I opened the GoFundMe I'd created. We'd raised just under $300 in 2 weeks. Most of it from my coworkers. Lena? She hadn't donated a cent. She had shared the link, though, with a filtered photo of Mom from 3 years ago, looking vibrant and healthy. The caption read, "My angel mother is fighting for her life. Anything helps. #cancer sucks, #family over everything." That post made the rounds. Friends commented. Influencers reposted. But the money didn't come. Turns out, people can feel when something's performative. They can smell exploitation dressed as advocacy. Mom didn't see it that way, of course. "She's trying," she said again. Social media is how young people process pain now. Is it? Because I was processing pain with latex gloves and expired Tylenol. The hospital visits became more frequent. I had memorized the route to the ER in the dark. I kept a bag packed at all times. Extra socks, insurance cards, protein bars. I stopped calling Lena before appointments. She never answered anyway. Then came the night I thought we'd lose her. It was 2:13 a.m. I just dozed off when I heard her gasp, a horrible, shallow rattle. Her body was shaking, her eyes wide with fear. I called 911 while holding her hand and whispering, "Stay with me, Mom. I'm here. I've got you." The paramedics said it was a reaction to the meds. They stabilized her. I followed the ambulance in my car, barely breathing. And Lena? Lena went live on TikTok 20 minutes later. Crying, again. Telling her 40K followers, "I just have this feeling tonight, like something's wrong. I can't explain it, but I feel it in my soul." I was watching from a hospital waiting room when it popped up. And I lost it. I called her. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, I called. She picked up on the third ring, her voice airy like nothing was wrong. "Mark? Is everything okay?" I didn't yell. I didn't curse. I just said, "You have no idea what's happening here, do you?" There was a pause. "What do you mean?" "Mom almost died tonight. We're in the ER. Again." "Where are you, Lena?" She sniffed. "I've been feeling things. I've been lighting candles. I just knew something was." "Don't," I cut in. "Don't turn this into a vibe. She needed you. I needed you. And you're out there playing prophet to strangers online." Silence. Then, "You think this is easy for me? Watching from afar?" "I'm trying, Mark. I'm trying in my own way." "No, Lena. You're posting. That's not the same as showing up. I hung up. I didn't care how she spun it. Because for the first time in my life, I didn't care if I was the villain in her version of the story. The silence after that call lasted 5 days. 5 full days without a message, a meme, a fake thinking of you gif. Just quiet. And for the first time, I didn't miss her voice. I missed the mother I had 2 years ago. The one who danced in the kitchen, who wore big sunglasses to mow the lawn, who made inappropriate jokes at holidays that made Dad blush. But Lena? No, I didn't miss Lena. Not anymore. The 5th night after that call, I walked into Mom's room with her tea, lukewarm chamomile, the only thing she could hold down. And I saw her holding her phone to her chest, eyes closed, face wet with tears. Did she call? I asked. She nodded slowly. She said she felt your anger like a storm. I almost laughed. Is that what she told you? She's hurting too, Mark, Mom whispered. She doesn't know how to help. I knelt beside her bed, stared into her tired, sunken eyes. She doesn't want to help, Mom. She wants to be seen helping. Mom didn't respond. Later that night, I found Dad sitting in the garage, surrounded by broken tools and unopened mail. Just sitting. The air was thick with motor oil and grief. She still hasn't come, he said. His voice sounded dry, like it hadn't been used in days. All this time, and she couldn't catch one flight. I didn't say anything. I know I spoiled her, he went on. God knows I made her feel like she walked on water. But this, he shook his head. This is cowardice. The word echoed between us like a broken bell. It was the first time I'd ever heard him speak about Lena without awe in his voice. He looked smaller than I remembered, more human, a man who had finally realized the temple he built had no God inside. That night, I sat with him in the garage. 2 folding chairs, 1 lamp, silence. We didn't talk about Lena again. We didn't need to. The shift was slow, but real. Dad started thanking me, out loud, for little things, unloading the groceries, managing Mom's meds, keeping the house from falling apart. He started sitting with her more often, holding her hand, even when she was asleep. And Mom, even through the fog of chemo, even with her mind slipping in and out of lucidity, began to ask fewer questions about Lena. Sometimes, I'd catch her looking at me with this strange expression, not quite guilt, not quite pride, maybe something in between, something like regret. One morning, while I was brushing her hair, she whispered, "You're the one who stayed. You always were." I didn't answer, because part of me was still waiting for the other shoe to drop, for Lena to swoop in and reclaim the throne, to be the hero with perfect timing, tears and all. And me? Just the warm-up act. But she didn't. 3 more weeks passed. Mom had a good day, Rare. We sat in the garden under a blanket. She asked me to read her old letters, ones she'd kept in a shoebox since the 90s. There, folded between pages of faded ink, was a birthday card from Lena, age 14. In it, she'd written, "You're the best mom in the world. If I ever leave, it's not because I don't love you. It's because I need the world to love me too." I read it aloud. Mom smiled weakly. That's always been her, hasn't it? Yes, I said. It has. Lena called again the next morning. Not me, Dad. He didn't pick up. And for the first time in forever, she left a voicemail. Hey, Dad. I know I haven't been present. And I know Mark is doing everything. But I don't know how to be helpful from here. I don't think I'm strong enough to come home and see her like that. I can't. I'm sorry. I love you. Tell Mom I love her. He played it once, then deleted it. He didn't say a word. But when I looked at his face, I saw something I never thought I'd see. Clarity. The golden child had finally gone dark. I stopped expecting her to come. Not out of spite. Not even from anger anymore. Just resignation. Like the way you stop expecting spring when winter has lasted too long. You forget what warmth feels like. And somehow, you survive without it. Lena was gone. Not physically. She still existed in the glow of a phone screen, in filtered updates and sympathetic captions. But emotionally, spiritually, she'd checked out before Mom's diagnosis ever came. And now, her absence wasn't a wound anymore. It was a scar. Mom had 1 more round of chemo scheduled. The last, the doctors said. Then we'll reassess. That word, reassess, was medical code for prepare for anything. She'd gotten thin. Not just sick thin. Fragile. Her wrists were bird-like. Her eyes moved slower, like thoughts were wading through syrup just to form. I still helped her bathe. Still crushed pills into applesauce. Still changed her bed sheets twice a night because the cold sweats came without warning. I'd stopped sleeping through the night entirely. I'd wake before the alarm, just sit there and listen for breathing. Sometimes I'd stand at her bedroom door and think, is this the night? And sometimes I'd hope it was. Not because I didn't love her, but because I was watching the strongest person I knew disappear one cell at a time. And it was killing her slowly, and me, silently. One afternoon, while Dad was out picking up meds, I heard her whisper my name. Mark. I rushed in, thinking she needed water or help to the bathroom. But she was just lying there, her eyes wide. Alert. Sit. I did. She studied my face for a long time. You ever wonder what it's like to be free of your family? The question stunned me. She'd never said anything like that. Ever. I used to, I admitted. But not anymore. Why not? Because now I finally understand what it means to love someone without needing their approval. She blinked slowly, as if those words were foreign. Then she reached for my hand. I was unfair to you, she said. Your whole life. I didn't answer. You never asked for much. You never demanded anything. That made it easier to forget what you were carrying. My throat tightened. I looked away. I think I thought Lena needed me more, she said. She did, I replied. But not in the way you thought. She nodded faintly. She needed a stage. You needed a mother. The room went quiet. I could hear the wind outside. The old swing on the porch creaking faintly. A bird tapping its beak against the glass. I hope you forgive me someday, she whispered. I already did, I said. A long time ago. I just never said it out loud. That night, I cried. For the first time in months. Not because I was overwhelmed. Not because I was tired, though I was. But because something shifted. That moment between us, quiet and unglamorous, was the closest thing we'd ever had to honesty. And it only happened because Lena wasn't there. If she had been, Mom would have put on a brave face. Dad would have defaulted to his usual stoicism. And I would have faded into the wallpaper like I always did. But that night, I was seen. Not as the support act, but as the son who stayed. She posted a photo of a smoothie bowl the day Mom went septic. Blueberries. Chia seeds. A sprinkle of coconut flakes shaped into a smiley face. The caption read, Feeding my soul. You can't pour from an empty cup. Purple heart. #self-care. #healing energy. I was in the hospital, waiting outside the ICU, my hands still stained from holding Mom's trembling frame as she convulsed in the bathroom 30 minutes earlier. She had collapsed. Her fever spiked to 104. I'd called the ambulance with one hand while wiping vomit off her chin with the other. And Lena? She was arranging fruit. I stared at the post until the screen blurred. Then I turned my phone off and shoved it in my jacket pocket. I didn't tell Dad. I didn't show the nurse. I didn't even delete the post. I just sat there, quiet, completely still, like my body had turned into stone, and if I moved, if I even breathed, the scream building in my chest would rip me in half. Mom survived. Barely. They pumped her full of antibiotics. Said we'd caught it early. Said we were lucky. I didn't feel lucky. I felt like I was disappearing. 3 days later, Lena called. I let it ring 5 times before I answered. Hey, she chirped. I saw the GoFundMe stalled again. You want me to make a reel? A reel. I actually looked at the phone to make sure I'd heard her right. No, I said. I want you to come home. Silence. I'm Mark. You know I can't. You can. You just won't. Another silence. Then a sigh, heavy and theatrical. You don't get it, okay? I'm not built for this. I'd fall apart. What good would I be if I came and made everything worse? You wouldn't make anything worse, I said flatly. You just make it real. And that's what you're afraid of. Click. She hung up. Dad didn't ask who it was. He'd stopped asking weeks ago. But that night, after Mom fell asleep, I walked into the living room and saw him holding an old photo album. He was flipping pages with that same haunted expression I remembered from the garage. He pointed at a picture. It was Lena, age 6, in a ballerina dress, holding a medal upside down. Do you remember that day? He asked. Kind of, I said. She cried in the car because she didn't win first place. He nodded. And we told her she was the best anyway, that the judges didn't understand her talent. Another pause. Then, I think we taught her to rewrite reality. He closed the album and looked at me. You didn't need that kind of story. You just lived in the truth. And we punished you for it. It should have felt like a breakthrough. But it didn't. It felt like a eulogy. The next morning, I wrote Lena a message. Just one line. If you want to say goodbye, you have a week. After that, don't bother. She didn't reply. But 3 hours later, she went live again. Tears. Lighting. Piano music. A dramatic pause. I wish I could be stronger. But some of us grieve from afar. And that's valid too. Thousands of views. Hearts. Hug emojis. Comments like, "You're doing amazing, sweetie, and this must be so hard for you." And beneath it all, silence from my mother's bedroom. She was slipping slowly. Her voice weaker. Her hands colder. But she was still here. And Lena was already mourning her online. For followers. For pity. For the applause. Mom asked me to write her obituary while she was still alive. We were sitting on the porch. A quiet day. She had a blanket over her knees and a scarf around her head that barely hid the hair she had left. "I wanted to be real," she said. "Not flowery. Not fake." I knew what she meant. She didn't have to say Lena's name. No hashtags, I promised. She smiled weakly. No warrior metaphors either. Just tell them I was loved. That night, I sat at the kitchen table and typed her life in a paragraph. Not the whole story, not the pain, not the chemo, not the parts where she wept in my arms or forgot my name for half a minute. No, but I wrote the kind of truth she asked for. Marta Elaine Whitaker, 64, beloved wife and mother, passed peacefully surrounded by love. She was known for her sharp wit, her stubborn kindness, and her fierce loyalty to those who stood by her. She is survived by her husband, Raymond, and her son, Mark. That's it. No mention of Lena. She saw the obituary the next morning. Didn't call. She posted a story instead, an old photo of her and Mom on the beach, both smiling into the sun, with the caption, "She was my whole world. I'm broken. Hashtag rest in power, Mom. Hashtag angel on my shoulder." Beneath it, a selfie. Eyes red. Head tilted. A soft tear traced over contour and highlighter. Aesthetic grief. The reactions poured in. "You're so strong. She's watching over you. Sending prayers to your beautiful soul." And not one of those people knew she hadn't even been there. I watched her post from the hospital bathroom. I had just changed Mom's catheter. My hands still smelled of latex and antiseptic. I stared at the screen, jaw clenched, heart pounding. And for the first time since this all started, I felt something worse than betrayal. I felt erased. She called 3 days later, just after Mom passed. "Mark," she said, voice thin with rehearsed sorrow. "Why wasn't I mentioned in the obituary? I didn't say anything. I mean, I'm still her daughter. You were never here. That's not fair." "No, Lena," I snapped. "What's not fair is that you got to choose your absence. We didn't get that luxury." She started to cry. I didn't know how to handle it. We all didn't. But we still showed up. Click. She hung up. The funeral was simple. Closed casket. No cameras. Just the neighbors, the hospice nurse, and a few church friends who brought food and stayed behind to help clean up. Lena didn't come. She posted a reel instead. A slideshow of filtered images. Mom laughing. Mom dancing. Mom holding baby Lena. Set to soft piano music and captioned, "She was my beginning. And now I have to begin again." Hashtag grief journey. Hashtag mother loss. Hashtag energy never dies. 50,000 views. People tagged their own mothers. Wrote poems in her comments. Said they felt her pain. Meanwhile, Dad sat in the kitchen, silent, holding Mom's wedding ring in his palm like it might still be warm. I wanted to show him the post. I wanted to scream, "Look, she's turning Mom's death into a goddamn brand." But I didn't, because he didn't need more grief. 3 days later, Lena showed up, unannounced. No suitcase, just a designer handbag and her phone in one hand, grief in the other, the Instagram kind, performative and wide-eyed. She stepped inside like she still belonged. "Where's Dad?" she asked. "Where's, the urn?" No greeting. No apology. Just demand. I gestured to the mantel. She walked over, stared at the small polished box like it should have been gold-plated. "She was supposed to be scattered in the ocean," she said. "She asked to stay here," I replied. "Near us." I didn't get a say in that. I met her eyes, for the first time in months. "You didn't earn a say." That shut her up. For maybe 3 seconds. Then, "You're punishing me because I couldn't handle seeing her like that." "No," I said. "I'm punishing you because you didn't even try." She turned away. I was grieving in my own way. "No, Lena. You were performing grief for strangers. That's not the same thing." She opened her mouth to deny it, to cry, to spin the story, but I walked out of the room before she could speak. because there was nothing left to say, and because for the first time in my life, I didn't owe her a goddamn thing. Lena didn't leave right away. She stayed for 3 days, drifting through the house like a stranger visiting a memory. She didn't offer to help with dishes, didn't ask about funeral costs. She sat at the kitchen table once, scrolled through her phone, and said, "People are still messaging me. They say I'm brave." Brave. I nearly choked on my coffee. She had posted a black and white reel the night before, old photos of Mom and her, overlaid with a breathy voiceover. "Even when I wasn't there, I was with you." Because grief is not about presence. It's about connection. The video had over 80,000 views by morning. I wanted to ask her, connection to what? To Mom's pain? Her nausea? Her silence at 2 a.m.? The smell of blood? The sound of the machines in the ER? But I didn't. Because I wasn't angry anymore. I was done expecting anything from her. On the second night, I walked into the living room and saw her trying to convince Dad to do a memorial live stream. "For the people who couldn't be here," she said brightly. "Her followers. My friends. We could even raise money for a cause she'd love." Dad just blinked. Slowly. "No," he said. She didn't want that. Lena looked genuinely stunned. Why wouldn't she want to be honored? She was honored, I said from behind her. She just didn't want it turned into content. Her mouth opened, but she didn't speak. Not right away. Then, "This isn't content. This is how I cope." I leaned on the doorway. Calm. "No. This is how you stay relevant." Later that night, I found her in Mom's bedroom. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, holding one of Mom's old scarves. "She wore this during chemo, right?" she asked. "Yeah." She looked good in it. Strong. I nodded. She looked up at me, I suddenly glassy. "I wasn't trying to be cruel, Mark. I didn't know how to show up." "You didn't have to be perfect," I said. "You just had to be here." A pause. She shook her head. "You always made it look easy." I laughed, bitter and dry. Nothing about this was easy. I just didn't make a show out of it. On the third morning, she packed. No goodbyes. No hugs. Just an awkward pause at the front door. She handed me an envelope. Inside was a short letter. "I'm sorry I couldn't be who you needed. I hope someday you can forgive me." I folded it. No response. Because I didn't need apologies anymore. I needed peace. After she left, the house felt real again. It wasn't quieter, not really. But it was cleaner. Calmer. More whole, somehow. Like her absence stopped tugging reality in 2 directions. Dad started coming out of his fog. He shaved. Watered the plants. Cleaned out Mom's closet on his own. One night, he brought out a small wooden box. "Her favorite things," he said. "I thought you should have them." Inside, a photo of the 3 of us at the lake. Her wedding ring. And a note she'd written months earlier, folded twice. I opened it with shaking hands. "Mark, if you're reading this, it means you stayed. You always did." I saw it. "I'm sorry it took me so long to say that. I love you." The next day, I took the scarf Lena had left behind and tied it around a tree in the backyard, the one Mom used to sit under with a book and a glass of iced tea. I didn't cry. I just sat there and listened. Birds. Wind. Nothing else. But that nothing, it felt full. For the first time, I wasn't waiting to be noticed. Or chosen. Or forgiven. I had been the one who stayed. Who showed up. Who remembered. And that was enough. Spring came slow that year. The trees bloomed late. The air stayed cold longer than usual. Like the world was still grieving with us and didn't quite know how to start again. I didn't rush it. Every morning I'd sit on the porch with Dad, 2 mugs of coffee between us. We didn't talk much. We didn't need to. Some silences are sacred. Sometimes he'd nod toward the old oak tree where Mom used to read, where the scarf still danced in the wind. "She'd like that," he said once. "You keeping her there." "She never really left," I said. And it was true. She was in the habits I couldn't shake, in the grocery list still taped to the fridge, in the way I checked the time and still thought about her medication schedule. But she was also in the quiet. Not the haunting kind. The comforting kind. Lena called twice in April. I didn't answer the first one. The second time, she left a voicemail. "Hey, I heard about the tree. And the scarf. That's beautiful. I hope you're okay. I'm trying. I guess I just wanted to hear your voice." She paused. "I miss Mom too." Click. No follow-up text. I sat with that message for a long time. Not because I didn't care, but because I finally understood I didn't know her closure. Not anymore. Some things don't get sewn back together. Some relationships stay frayed at the edge. And that's okay. You can love someone from far away and still know they were never built to stay close. A few weeks later, I visited the ocean, the same one we used to vacation at when Lena and I were kids. I brought a stone from the backyard, one Mom always kept on her windowsill, and I let it go into the surf. No words, just the sound of the waves pulling it under. I didn't take a picture, didn't post it, didn't tell anyone, because not everything is meant to be seen. Some grief is meant to be kept. Some love, too. So that's the story. Not the one Lena told the world, but mine. The one where I stayed. The one where I carried the weight. The one where silence didn't mean absence, it meant devotion. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. The ones who show up quietly are the ones who never leave you, even when they're gone.